The DGC All Art Series, this is a little background, has proven very popular to attendees from across Canada, the US, sometimes as far as India and New Zealand, depending on what we're talking about. With the primary intent being to create a forum that can be collectively enjoyed and valued as a way to share, learn, and amplify the work we do in the art department. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you today from across our geographical divides. I look forward to tonight's presentation, which will start in just a couple minutes. But first, a few things worth mentioning. To allow the presentation to flow with ease, there won't be any questions during the presentation, but we'd love to hear where you're zooming in from, so please let us know in the chat. This event is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the DGC YouTube channel in the next few days. And at the end of today's event, Julian will post a link to this channel in the chat. And for those who are interested, please take note that the links from previous All Art events are also on that channel. Just before we get our designer spotlight started, please join me in honoring this request and acknowledgement. Wherever you are in Canada or elsewhere in the world, please take a moment to honor our Indigenous people's long history of welcoming many nations to their beautiful territories. I'm grateful for all that we have, and I'm committed to upholding and uplifting the voices and values of our host nations. We also acknowledge those who came here forcibly, particularly as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. Therefore, we honor and pay tribute to the ancestors of African origin and descent. So I'd like to welcome our 12 DGC production designers, all nominated this year for Best Production Design. So guys, turn your cameras on so everyone can see your lovely faces. There we are. Yeah. So we got, it's really great. Everyone's kind of come together like this. And Carolyn, yeah, love to see your face. And Michaela Shane might come on if Alex, who's up in non-cellular land, poops out on the cellular. So anyway, but thanks, guys. So just a little background about what today's event is. As an exciting lead up to the DGC Awards, they're being held at Toronto's beautiful Kerner Hall on November 8th, and coinciding with Canadian Production Design Week. The goal of tonight's event is to spotlight all these impressive DGC talents. And we're very fortunate to have all 12 of you with us here tonight to showcase your nominated work. Thanks for taking the time to do so, truly. And if you're a DGC member eligible to vote and you haven't done so yet, you still have until November 2nd, midnight Pacific time. And tonight's a great opportunity for you to become an informed voter. And Julian has posted in the link, or will post in the link, where you can go to that information of how you can vote. The nominated productions fall into these 4 categories and will be presented in this order. But again, this is a pretty loose evening. It's not a major competition, but just to kind of keep things organized. So the categories are feature film limited budget, dramatic series and miniseries, and comedy or family series. The format of tonight's event is inspired by and modified from the popular Japanese image sharing dynamics of a pechakucha, and will flow quickly and work in the following way. The presenting designer's name and nominated production will be announced, and their camera will get turned on at that point. And it will be followed by a brief bio introduction of that designer. And when I say go, they will make a 5.5-minute presentation accompanied by 5 images from their nominated production. When I call time, they have to end their presentation, turn their camera off, and I will immediately introduce the next designer, who will turn their camera on, and so on. With 13 presentations, we aim to wind up approximately at the 90-minute mark. And I can't guarantee that there will be time for Q&A at the end, but please feel free to comment amongst yourselves in the chat in the meantime. And if we do have time at the 90-minute mark, everyone's willing to stay another 15 minutes to answer any questions. So now let's get started with this fun and lively exhibition of our very talented group of nominated production designers. So cameras off, guys, except Alex Marinkovich is our first one up. So we'll just wait till Alex is there. Yeah, okay, I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm just going to be a voice prompting the thing as we go. So this one, I just have to turn my timer on. Okay. Alex Marinkovich is nominated for the feature film The Apprentice. Born in Canada of old European descent, Alex studied architecture in Toronto, England, and Italy. Once back in Toronto, Alex found a home in film production, which allows creativity to grow far beyond what working in architecture could have provided at the time. Research, design, interdepartmental collaboration, all within budget constraints, contribute to a challenging career that she hopes to continue for a long time. Alex, go for it.
Oh boy. Hi. Hi, folks. Here I am up north. So bear with me if I time out. Michaela is going to come in and save the day. So I'm just waiting for some images to come up. Am I on? Oh, here we go. All right, lovely. Okay, so I worked on The Apprentice with some amazing people, and here we start. Basically, this movie is a biopic, not a documentary, but a biopic that was had a very limited budget. So the whole premise of the movie was to keep it real, unglamorous, and one of Ali, our director's main kind of adjective to use was punk rock. It was total guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. We had 30 days of shooting, 64 sets, and yeah, it was, needless to say, very exciting and crazy. So here we start. The story is basically about Donald Trump. I know it is, sadly, but Gabe wrote an amazing script. And when I first signed on, before I signed on, I was like, why are we making a movie about Donald Trump? But Gabe's script was basically a story about a bunch of humans, of how this young man, Donald Trump, was kind of a privileged guy from Queens, kind of under his father's thumb, trying to forge himself in the big bad world. And this first picture, we are in Manhattan at Le Club, a very famous Manhattan club. God, sorry guys, I'm a little nervous here. And we meet, and Donald meets Roy Cohn. And Roy Cohn basically is the scum of the earth, but he kind of thrives in the underbelly of Manhattan. He is a self-hating Jew. He was part of the McCarthy generation of going after communists. He gets thrown out of DC and he ends up in New York, and he works with all sorts of people. He's a lawyer, and he's very powerful, and what Roy wants, he gets. And Donald basically comes, catches Roy's eye at the club, and this is filmed in Piano Piano in Toronto. The whole film is in Toronto. And basically what we had to do with our limited budget is kind of embrace the locations that we had. And we had an amazing location department that kind of helped create the character. The locations became part of the character, became a character in the movie, because we couldn't recreate everything. What we had to do is create an essence of the time and the places. So you can move on from this picture, please. This is part of a presentation that I did with the help of Michaela and John Moran, kind of trying to set the tone of the film, how I saw the film, and how we, luckily, Ali and Casper, the DP, also saw it, was that it was in 3 parts. There were 3 acts, and the first part of the movie is filmed in the 70s, and kind of in that 16 millimeter, lovely, hazy sort of cinematic tone. And then halfway through the movie, when we hit the 80s, we kind of go, oh, sorry, I have to look at my notes. We go into video, analog video. And lighting was minimal. Casper, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 lighting setups. Everything was based on what was happening in the location. And with the 80s, oh my God, do I have 1 minute left? Am I talking too much? Okay, sorry. We can move on. Anyways, in the 80s, the lighting was harsher, and that was the kind of tone of the movie. Oh my God. Here we are in Roy Cohn's apartment, his house, his brownstone. It's 2 Wellesley Street in Toronto. And it's kind of, this is the one location that we really tried to create historically accurate within the realm of the location. And Roy did most of his business through his washroom, through his bedroom, and he had this thing for frogs. And our amazing set deck department found every frog in Toronto and brought it in to this lovely kind of man cave of Roy's. So here we are, still kind of embracing the 70s aspect and the lighting, the tonality. We can move on. And then here, that's it. I'm done. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks,
wow. I
Alex.
spoke way too much. Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
Take
No,
care.
thank you so much for showing up.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So our next designer is Peter Costco, who is nominated for feature film for 40 Acres. Based in Toronto, Peter has worked as a production designer in film and television for many years and has collaborated with such noted directors as Sarah Polley, Shekhar Kapoor, Daniel Rohr, Patricia Rozema, R.T. Thorne, and Vincenzo Natali. Peter's feature film credits include his DGC Best Production Award winning Women Talking, Tuner, 40 Acres, Haunter, and The Lesser Blessed. So, go Peter. You're muted. You're muted. You can go back.
Turned on my camera, but not the microphone. Thanks. Thanks everybody for attending this. Yes, I worked on 40 Acres. 40 Acres is a film, a dystopian future kind of action adventure film where food insecurity is like a kind of the main element of the story. That, you know, like there's something that happened sometime in the future that killed all the animals. So food and finding food becomes a big challenge for society. So I guess we could go to the first slide. And most of the show was filmed on location, and it was filmed in Sudbury, which is not the first place you think of when you think of cornfields, because there was a cornfield in the cornfields in the film. And even before I was officially on, I said, you know, it would be really great to have locations. I think I contacted production in May and said, because I'd checked out some Agriculture Ontario websites, and there are cornfields around Sudbury, and you have to plant your corn in early June. I don't know anything about farming, but these are some of the things that you have to get involved with sometimes as a production designer. You have to learn the growing cycles of corn in Sudbury. Unfortunately, we didn't go there till July to scout locations. We did find some amazing locations, but we had to fake the cornfield. We filmed at one real cornfield, and the rest of it was something that the set deck team and Green's team had to constantly replant, and replenish. And so we found some places that that had the required level of neglect, which was great. But for instance, because of the harsher climate in Sudbury, the farms have enclosed porches. Like the two images on the left there are some location photos of the farm that we shot in. And in my mind, you know, like a farmhouse would have a big, you know, wraparound porch. So that was something that we had to modify and add to the location to make it a little bit more a little bit more camera friendly and a little bit better suited for the staging of indoor outdoor transitions. Because what we did was we used this farm here for the exterior farmhouse and barn and some of the fields. And then if you go to the next slide, this was another farmhouse that we used for the interiors. And other than the fact that there's fewer cornfields around Sudbury. Another challenge is that there are also fewer locations to pick from. And I spoke with the location manager early on after we looked at, when we went up in July and did our first pass at some of the locations. And I said, like, none of the places that we found really were suitable. So what we need is an empty place that's been abandoned for a number of years. And amazingly, he found something. And the photos on the left, again, is what the place looked like when we moved in, when we first, we basically moved in there because we had it for, I don't know, a couple of months so we could come and go and do some construction work and some set dressing and stuff like that. But you could see how it was not exactly the most attractive place. And in the top picture, you can see the top couple of pictures. I actually knocked out one of the ceiling tiles to see what was underneath. And to my surprise, it was a beautiful, V-groove cedar tongue and groove ceiling. So, we did a lot of things like strip the drop ceiling from the ceiling. We in this kitchen set here that's on this slide here, you can see we added some vintage wallpaper. We did a lot of repainting and stuff like that. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is the other room there. What we did was we found some beautiful wallpaper underneath the horrible paneling that you can see in the location photos, and we also opened up a big hole to connect the kitchen and the living room. Could you go to the next slide, please? These are some of the locations that we found that we did some extensive dressing. A lot of it was removing junk and clutter from these places and then dressing them to make it appropriate for our set. And then the last slide. And this is our big studio build. This was also limited budget. I think, we didn't have a lot of money for this, but we built this big kind of underground bunker.
Fine.
Thank you,
Peter. That was excellent. Thank you so much. Our next designer is Liz Bischoff. Whoops.
Hi there.
I just want to introduce you a little bit. So I just got a little, I'll tell you. Okay. So Liz Bischoff is nominated for the feature film Limited Budget, Nice Indian Boy. Based in Toronto, Liz's design work spans film, television, opera, and theater. Her design for A Nice Indian Boy reflects her talent for storytelling through space and detail with a limited budget. Past credits include Son of a Critch, World's Best, and Getaway. She is currently in Dublin on a new action feature starring Michelle Yeoh. So just let me get this set up. Sorry. Okay, go for it.
I'm just going to go right into the slides because it seems like we run out of time. So if you want to bring up the first slide. A Nice Indian Boy is a rom-com. And we started with actually a much bigger budget, and then we went down and we came back with half the money. So I had to do 2 weddings, beginning and the end, with half the money, with almost no money, really. This is the meet cute for the couple is at the temple, and we weren't allowed to go into temples, so we had to build a temple. We started with this sort of backspace of a temple. It was a kind of mouse-infested space, so they had to be cleaned. And then we built a very small set based on some of the architecture that was already in the space. Next slide. So this is just another location where we had nothing, and we turned it into a hospital. It was an old retiree community center. And we just had to bring everything in to make it into something. Next slide. So this is, I've only chosen one wedding to show you, which is the finale wedding. And in the bigger budget version, the director had said he wanted the set to be a field of mustard flowers. in the smaller budget version, when we came back, we couldn't afford a field of mustard flowers. So I built a stage. Their first date is a movie theater. So I built a stage that was a translight because I thought it would be interesting to have that projection as if the movie was coming to life and pouring out onto the stage. So there's a framework around this wedding, and then a reflective floor, and then in the two sections to the wedding, the actual ceremony, and then in the party section, I put up a gold curtain, which we could change in so many directions with the light, and it just worked really well with just a little bit of wind, and it would move, and then you'd have different colors of light that could change the entire sort of emotion of the scene. Next slide. This is just sort of a little bit more detail about what was in some of those sets. So you had we had no money and no place to do it because it was in June when we were shooting, and we needed, with two weddings, we needed a sort of venue for 10 days. So we did everything in a tent, which had its own complications, uneven ground. But you can see here, like I had a very big tent, and half of the tent is the ceremony and half of the tent is the party. And that was just some examples of how the set worked. Next slide. And then this is one of the characters, like his family of friends was just this really fun set to do. Kind of a bunch. It's supposed to, the setting for this film is San Francisco, so I kind of picked the idea of having like a Burning Man group of friends. So this is sort of my iteration of a house that belonged to a bunch of burners, arty and flamboyant and kind of a hippie house. Yeah. Next, I think, am I through my slides?
You are through.
Yay.
You've
Okay.
still got an hour, 1 minute and 15 seconds.
I think I'm pretty good. That was me. I mean, yeah, I think I kind of covered it all. We had almost no money to do it, but I had a great team. They pulled out all the stops, and I was very lucky to have a decorator who had a side hustle in weddings. So he had a lot of pipe and drape in his storage. So that was really an incredible help. He just pulled just amazing things out of nowhere. It was really incredible. Great team.
Are you done? Or do you want to, you still have 40 seconds. You're done? Okay.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Liz. Okay. Next up, we have Ludovic Dufresne. Hi, Ludovic. Ludovic
Bonjour.
is nominated for the feature film limited budget Ville Les Miserables. Based in Montreal, Ludovic graduated from UQAM in 2016, obtaining a bachelor's degree in film. In 2020, he finished his first feature film and has since worked on several feature films and television series and has been nominated and won numerous awards, including a 2024 Iris Award for Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Go for it.
Bon. Oui, bonjour à tous. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a Quebec film, actually, that was done in 2023. It's a fantastic film, a comedy, which is by Jean-François Leblanc, released in 2024. Once he approached me to offer the visual part of the project. By chance, I already had read the source of the project, which was a comic. So there you go. It was also really looking good at that point, because often what happens with comics come from a realistic type of universe. And we're kind of a type of irrealism. He calls it something that is improbable, not real. And therefore, the first direction that the project took was completely to the left, if you wish, as he calls it, talking about history, misanthropic demon who has been living on Earth for over almost 350 years and runs a used bookstore attached to used in a type of reclusive manner, attached to a used car dealership, sees his routine disrupted when you see the type of story I'm talking about here, which actually broaches the film. And then following there, it's the meeting with a human, because the demon to be living on Earth with a cohabiting with a human being at this point, I could say. Lucien actually is trying to actually save his little business and his car dealership, because what we want to do is actually give value to those books. Also, he's trying to save his a small bookstore. And a meeting with a human, which actually perturbed his daily life, but they became friends. Misérableville, it was over 2 seasons. Actually, no, 3 seasons. It was also in the winter that we actually shot the film. And I was in a limited type of budget, therefore, best design, I would qualify it as a miraculous film, if you want to use that term. So we can go to the next slide, and I will explain the process behind the film. There it is. We started also with the construction, the design inside the dealership, the famous bookstore of the demon, misanthropic demon he mentions, and I wanted to bring forward that he's been living here almost for a long time, and all the architectural influences and artistics had to be brought in. So I went to the Gothic age, if you wish, and I went through the lighting until neo-Gothic, until different architecture also. And I also put some present type of architecture. What is really particular here is the fact that it's happening today, but it's not really defined in a timeline. So there's a lot of anachronisms, he calls. Here's for example, a computer of the demon, and then there's the books all behind. So, but at the same time, we have type of old style lamps from the 40s, and the architecture, of course, looks like the British libraries, and then the octagonal type of design. We had to work that into to not only work it, however, we kind of turned it in an octagonal manner to kind of seal that library. And when we're looking from outside in on this bookstore, or this, it's really kind of a box that really pops out of nowhere, but it seems to be integrated into the dealer, the car dealer. Once we get out of this, we see cars to be sold, a car dealership. What was the challenge? It was to construct, design this inside, and we can go back a little. If we can go just the one back, please, if you don't mind. So the challenge here was the following. It's to construct inside a building that already had been emptied out, if you wish. So the dealership is a Ford dealership that used to be there. And so we had to do the roofing, for example. The roof was leaking, problems with the structure, but everything was possible with this building. So I transformed it from a car dealership into what we see now. Sorry about that. Have a good evening, he says.
There you are. Okay. Marie-Pierre is nominated for the feature film limited budget La Petite et les Vieux. Based in Montreal, Marie-Pierre studied scenography and has contributed to 11 feature films so far. She has collaborated with filmmakers Denis Coté, Guy Adouin, Robin Robert, and Patrice Sauvé, among others. In 2019, she was nominated in the Best Production Design category at the Gala Quebec Cinema for the feature film Repertoire de Vie d'Esparu. I hope I've said that right. So
Yeah, that's good.
okay, so go for it. It's your go.
Hello, everyone. So I designed La Petite et le Vieux. So it's a family movie based on a novel, and it takes place in the year 1981, which makes it a period movie, I know, in Quebec City, in a low working class neighborhood. So we follow the main character, Jo, which is a young girl from 11 years old, an 11 years old girl. So yeah, she got a job to distribute papers. So you can go to the first slide. So our challenge here was to find a neighborhood that looks dry, and because the originate neighborhood wasn't really, it was gentrified with lush trees and vegetation and greens. So we had to change the location for something more dry. You know, there's the buildings, the sidewalks, and then the street really narrow and curvy. So that helped us because we couldn't change everything on the streets. So then we founded the exterior of the apartment of Jo. And then we went in those apartments to try to find the location we were looking for, but all those apartments are so small, we couldn't fit a crew. And also we were shooting in anamorphic, so we need more space to shoot with those lens. So so we came to the conclusion that we had to build the main apartment in studio, and ding ding ding, it's Christmas for me because in Quebec it's really rare that we have the opportunity to build a studio, because we have so a limited budget, so we always shoot in location. So it was really nice to be able to design the main apartment. You can go to slide 2. So on the slide 2, you can see like we had a lot of fun just to design all the outline, to choose the texture, the colors. I recall myself being in the living room of my uncle, sitting on a nice shaggy rug. So as I knew that we were shooting Jo watching her cartoon lower, I really wanted to have this texture of the nice shaggy from the 70s. So and also you can go to the third slide. So now it's a poor quality photo because it's a screenshot from a video I took. But the apartment, yeah, we copied the Crémon windows. Crémon windows, I don't know the word in English, but it's like the windows that opens from the inside. So we found those windows on Marketplace, and we built around that. So we had that shaggy, but also this vintage linoleum. And also we did with the carpenters all the old cabinetry, the work mill. And also I had the chance to design a wallpaper from pattern that I stole on an old cushion, vintage cushion. So it was really fun to do. And me and my decorator, we really enjoyed that. I also went to put stucco on the hallway, and also I found this nice set of toilet, bath, and sink in baby blue with for the bathroom. So it was really fun to having the chance to do that. And then you can go to the next slide. We also had a lot of other sets to do. Like for this example, the convenience store. Every people in Quebec in my generation and even older, we all recall going to the convenience store and buying some candy from there. So we really wanted to rebuild this memory that we all have. So the cigarettes on the back of the cashier, and also all the candies in front of the counters. And you can go to the last one. So here you can see the picture of the convenience store. It was a blank space, all white. So we did all the wood paneling and the features and everything. So, but unfortunately in 5 minutes and only 5 slides, I cannot show you the other sets that we did, but we did a butcher with all handed painting letters, and also a classroom. But we had a great team, really really talented, and we put all our heart in that, and I think it's a great movie. So you should watch it with your children, even if it's in French, with the subtitle is really good. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. You had a few seconds left, but thank you for your presentation. And
Yes.
okay, thank you so much. So our next designer is Caroline Alder. Caroline Alder. Sorry, I didn't ask how you pronounced your name. Is it Caroline or Caroline? You're muted, so make sure that you're okay. Is it Caroline or Caroline?
Caroline.
Caroline, okay. Caroline Alder is nominated for the feature film limited budget, The Dernier Repas. Architecture trained, she is a Montreal-based production designer with 25 plus years of art department experience from indies to large-scale productions. Working locally and abroad, she has designed 20 projects, including features, documentaries, and shorts. Through spatial composition, lighting, opportunities, color, and textures, she creates environments that support director's vision and enhance narrative intent, favoring reuse and repurposing. Love that. Okay, go.
Yes, hi. So you can start with the first slide. Yeah. So this project was quite a challenge. When I first met Maryse Le Gagneur, she told me that she was seeing this movie as a duty to remember the dark years of the Duvalier dictatorship in Haiti in the 70s. So being outside of this community, I really felt that I needed to immerse myself in the era. So I watched many documentaries, and I went to the Sidika, and I did fall into the archivals over there, photo, documentary, books, personal testimony. I wanted the sets to become a vessel of collective memory, and I wanted the Haitian community to totally relate and immerse themselves in the film. All the creative crew, so Maryse, Mathieu, Catherine, we all went ahead with this line, and we all were in sync to get to this authenticity. So the film follows Reynolds, a dying man of cancer, and he reconnects with his daughter from through Asian food that she prepares for him. The food is a catalyst unlocking memories of his 1973 arrest in Port-au-Prince and his incarceration into Phare Dimanche. Phare Dimanche is also known as Phare la Mort, is a tortured prison, a hidden space, a prison that haunted Haitian population during those years, but way after as well. I wanted to use color, texture, and food as the main storytelling elements in my set. So you can go to the second slide. So I really worked with opposite direction. The spaces of confinement, which was the prison, but also the palliative care in Montreal, they all were very much monochromatic. So the space of Phare Dimanche was oppressive in earth tones, and the palliative care unit was much more aseptic and neutral, and I wanted in using neutral and light tones that all the food prepared by Vanessa, the daughter, would really stand out. And also those dishes were the last wishes of Renald, and those meals he could no longer consume because he had stomach cancer. On the other spectrum, the public market, grocery store, they were highly vibrant sets. They were from the age of innocence of the main character. So I went full with colors, and I wanted them, well, especially the market, to really embodies the pearl of the Antilles, which was the pride of the dictator Duvalier. And on the other hand, in Montreal, we had the Asian grocery store, which somehow was the porthole that was leading us to Haiti. It's the area in Montreal that all the liveliness of the community was taking place, and it's also the place where Vanessa was cooking her meals. You can in between those two, there's the radio station. I wanted its envelope to really be monochromatic, because this is the space of the arrest. So I want there will be a very dramatic scene in it, but I did punch it with colors. So did the costume designer, because we really wanted it to embody the youth and liveliness of the youth community. So we can go to the next slide. So this is the radio station. It was quite a challenge because we built it in Montreal. We made it in the basement of a Presbyterian presbytery, in Montreal. So it was quite a challenge, but I really liked the space because of the split level floor that was allowing for some, that was enhancing the dramatic arrest that will happen. But we had to do many changes, window replacement, we had to build a vinyl library, we had to build a
Excuse time.
already.
Yeah, time's up, sorry.
Oh, zip.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Caroline. Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, so our next designer is Dominique Fegan. Did I say that right?
Dominic Fegan.
Dominique Fegan. I was looking, trying to see that.
Dominic Fegan, yeah. Or
Dominic
Dom, most
Fegan.
people call me Dom.
Okay, Dom Fegan is nominated for the feature film Limited Budget, What We Dreamed of Then. Halifax-based Dom was born in England to Scottish parents of Irish descent, and as a youngster traveled the Middle East and Europe before his family settled in Nova Scotia. This worldly upbringing exposed Dom to a host of culture, architecture, and language, impacting his aesthetic leanings, which since 2014, he has strived to bring to his work in various capacities within the burgeoning Nova Scotia film industry. So go for it.
We can jump right into the slides, please. So What We Dreamed of Then features two converging timelines, telling the story of a character called Gideon, who eventually becomes homeless or unhoused around the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So throughout the film, we have this non-linear story arc. We have a now timeline and a then timeline, and they're kind of passing and colliding throughout the film. And so we as the audience kind of pass between them fluidly throughout. These timelines aren't very far apart. It only really spans a 2-year period. So we needed ways to delineate between the stories so we could let the audience know where we were on that timeline through editing, color tone, and production design. Next slide, please. So the film was shot in St. John, New Brunswick, which offered a fantastic textured backdrop to the story. It's a so-called blue-collar town with a rich history of industry, and it kind of gets a bad rap these days for not having a lot going on, but it does have a lot to offer for filmmaking. It looks great on camera. As a city, it's not really featured a lot in Canadian cinema, so it was a really cool opportunity to showcase St. John and tell the story of someone kind of on the fringes. It also offered its challenges because we didn't really have the luxury of places like prop houses or big budget experienced crew or studio spaces. My team was 3 people to make this film. the city isn't really set up to film in that way. And I was 4 hours away from my home in Nova Scotia, so I'd really, being away from home, I just threw myself at this project, and I think we came up with something that I'm really proud of. Next slide. So in my role as production designer, I chose to offer up some subtle subliminal hints as to what timeline we were in throughout the story, like color palette and set decoration. It was designed in such a way where we followed Gideon about 90% of the film. It's a very focused film. So we had this apartment set that you can see in the bottom left there, where we had a good chunk of our story take place. So we had full control of that empty apartment. It was vacant in real life. So we completely dressed that set, and we had to have multiple versions of that apartment. So because of the story, at certain points, Gideon is living there with his partner, Kia, and his daughter, Faith, but eventually Kia moves out, and we had to take away layers throughout the film. And eventually we were ending with a completely empty space as his keys are taken away and he unfortunately becomes unhoused because of multiple overarching circumstances. So Gideon is also a committed swim coach, and we see in the top right. So we're at the pool a lot in the film. And so there's these deep, comforting blues, but they're punctuated by big pops of color, like the lane lines and the flutter boards and the pool noodles. So it was really important for me to show those spaces as they existed. And they really offer a lot of great architecture. Similarly, when you see the homeless encampments in your town where Gideon eventually ends up in the story, there is a lot of color. And in the tents and the tarps that are immediately evident and visible in our cities. I visited several encampments in prep and had some conversations with folks living rough and asked for permission to photograph their encampments. And I tried to bring that level of authenticity to those sets by showing the reality of living on the streets. Next slide. So after the apartment is taken away, Gideon finds a new home living in his minivan, which becomes a place of sanctuary for him. It was a really small set, of course, so it was challenging to film in, but also allowed us to add a lot of detail. Throughout all of this, Gideon is hiding his struggles from his family and friends. So the van acted like a little bit of a capsule for Gideon's life beforehand, what he's holding on to. So he shows certain things like his comforter from his daughter's bed, or the glow-in-the-dark stars are pinned to the ceiling of the van. He puts curtains up to create a bit of privacy and block out the world outside. He kind of maintains this childlike sense of hope, and I really wanted to bring that into the function and design of the set. Last one. Last set. So I just want to take a quick second to speak to one theme that made this film so challenging to make. The film deals with a lot of homelessness in Canada, which, as you can see by this image, and simply by looking around the towns that we live in, COVID-19 has really exacerbated existing risks in our culture. In cities across Turtle Island or Canada, more and more people are living rough, and it's due to a lot of things like unaffordable housing, capitalism, inadequate support systems, high rates of inflation, all those things, systemic racism, the list goes on. People like Gideon are all over our country, and they have their own stories, and we wanted to tell one in a really dignified way. There's a lot of privilege tied up in being able to make a film about someone becoming homeless or unhoused and then going back to our hotels at Wrap. So we tried to reckon with that throughout, and by telling the story and respecting the humans that are in the story, and show the tenderness and community that is the shared experience of living on the street.
Thank you.
And
Time.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. No
Okay.
worries.
No, thank you so much. Okay, next up, Elisa Sauvé. Elisa Sauvé is nominated for the dramatic episodic series Cross episode The Good Book. Argentinian Canadian, Elisa is known for her work on award-winning shows, including Luckiest Girl Alive, The Lie, and Sneakerella, which won the DGC Award for Best Production Design, as well as an Emmy nomination. She recently designed the first season of The Greatest, as well as the first seasons of both Cross and Accused. Her latest feature film project, Clement Virgo's Steal Away, premiered at TIFF 50 this year. Thanks, and Elisa, go for it.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm Elisa Sove, and I designed season 1 of Cross for Amazon Prime. Some of you may know the show, maybe others don't. It's basically follows a detective that's on the hunt for a serial killer. I'm going to show you 5 sets. Each set was approached with a different creative conundrum or set of problematics, and they're all studio builds. We shot, there were 1-hour episodes every 9 days with multiple units. And I hope you get a sense of how I work creatively. And I have 5 minutes, so I hope I do a good job. So let's go to the first slide. So obviously he's a detective. So the main set and the anchoring set in our show was the Washington DC homicide, floor of the police department. It was quite an important set for the show, and it was a large set, which had like breakout smaller rooms. The approach here for me was based on research, but also on location scouting, actual police stations, and in DC. And when I designed the set, since it was large, I wanted to keep kind of tension points. And I did that through architecture, just being able to like force certain angles or obstruct views that help, create tension in the story. So let's go to the second slide. So this is Ramsey's washroom, and it's a set whose like main purpose was to reveal this character. The second, so this set is belongs to the house of our antagonist, who is a rich, powerful man, part of the political elite with a double life. This is his bathroom, and it was a minor set in terms of the script, but for me, it was important to show an intimate moment of him alone. I pitched a single camera angle for this scene, and through the use of mirrors and dark, shiny surfaces, we were able to highlight his narcissistic and dark nature. The director, DP, and I had to work really, really closely, in order to achieve this. Let's move on to the third slide. This is the art exhibit, and it's a set that I designed to heighten the sense of threat and make the audience uncomfortable. It was an art exhibit that was meant to focus on death and the morbid side of life. None of the design of this was scripted, but the intention of the scene was to make the character and the situation scary for the audience. Our evil serial killer took a woman on a date. Script-wise, it wasn't a long scene, but it was a significant opportunity to continue to reveal his character and engage the viewer, because visually we went way further than the audience would have expected us to go. So we had a lot of producer support on this, and I think it was crucial, like, for the story. Let's go to the fourth slide. This set was Ben's Chili. So the conundrum here, or the problematic, or the creative process, was about recreating an important, famous, existing location and altering the design to suit the narrative. So Ben's Chili Dog, or Chili Dog, is a very iconic historical venue in Washington, D.C. Martin Luther wrote his speech there. It was Obama's, public outing, his first public outing, and it was a very important venue during the civil rights movement. So the design challenge here was, on one hand, to authentically, recreate authentically the space, but also to make it cinematic and suit the look of our show. So we sent some set designers down to DC, and we copied it right down to the broken cracks on the floor, and the grit that it held and the history that it held, with the hope of capturing the spirit of this location. And I think that we achieved it really successfully, and I'm happy to say that it will be forming part of the Black Smithsonian's permanent exhibit, which is, an honor for all of us. And then the last set is Ramsey's Lair. If we could change the slide. back to our evil serial killer. And this set was designed for a large action sequence. So basically it was, how do we, create a space that works for all of the stunts and for all the cinematography and fits the look of the mansion that we were, that we wanted our evil antagonist to have. So that's all. I know that was pretty fast, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you watched Cross, and it was fantastic collaborative process. So thanks for having me, and congrats to all the nominees.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. We actually finished a few seconds early. Okay, so next up we have Shane Fox. So Shane is nominated for the family series Overcompensating episode Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. Toronto-based, Shane is an Emmy-nominated production designer as well as founder of Shane Fox Hardware. Didn't know that. With over 30 years in film and television, her work spans major networks and acclaimed series. A member of the Television Academy, she has earned multiple industry nominations and awards for outstanding production design. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that lovely intro. Thank you, Marianne and Julian, also for all your efforts here. Overcompensating, what a fun show. When I interviewed for that show, you can actually go to the first slide, so there's something to look at other than my face. When I first interviewed for this show, when I met Benito Skinner, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I need to do this project. There's something about Benny. He's a 30-year-old guy who concepted a show, wrote the show, starred in the show, produced the show. And I just don't know how many of us could actually pull something like that off. He's just like, he's the kindest, smartest, funnest, coolest guy. And he made a show without ever really having done TV before. He's like TikTok, Instagram famous. So he knew his audience. He knew how to write for them, and he knew what was going to work and what was going to resonate. So it was a really cool process to see his process, not ever having really been part of a big production before. Anyway, so it's a coming out story. We had a lot of dorm rooms, and then going into it, I wasn't like supercharged excited about the design aspects. I was more excited to be working with Benny and just get out of vampires, which I'd been in for so long. So anyway, this is Benny's dorm, but this is a studio build. We did this in studio. Obviously, we had a big hallway and a couple other areas coming off of it. It's hard to capture a show in 5 slides. I'm sure you can all agree. So I just kept it really simple. I didn't want to jumble the screen with lots of images, but I really liked this set. And yeah, it's a fun one. Can we go to the next picture? Peter's dorm. This was another dorm. We did a fun bathroom build, and there was a hallway as well, studio set. Just wanted to capture that frat boy vibe, wanted to be able to like have it come on screen and everybody be grossed out and smell the beer and the pee and just the boyness of it all. So this was a fun one. The other fun thing about the show, and you can go to the next slide, is there was like a fantastical element. So there's fantasy sequences, and we were doing things sort of like unexpected pops here and there. So it's just really fun to sort of like, okay, we're on location one day, we're building a set the next day, and then we're doing like a jungle fantasy with like Tarzan vibes. And that's the kind of stuff that I really like to do. That was just made it fun for us. Next slide. Charlie XCX was the music producer on the show, and I didn't really know who she was when I first signed on to the project, but then she continued to have Brat Summer, and she was like everywhere and everything, and we had to keep it top secret that she was producing on her show and that we were doing her concert for her and that she was around. And it was just kind of fun to be in the moment with her, with the show. It was just a cool thing. So yeah, that's the Charlie concert. And then the next slide. This is just an example of how we did stuff. Like, I mean, even though it was like an Amazon Prime show and it was wanted to look like a glossy production, it was sort of more indie budgeted, and we didn't have a lot of time or money for things. So we had a bathroom scene where we concepted this idea that the bathroom stall was going to fall away and then things would start to spin. And, you know, you can see on the top left, like that's the tiniest little bathroom set in the history of bathroom sets. We had a bigger set design, but we couldn't afford it. So it was just like, how do you whittle this down to the finest, most important details? And how do you get this interactive, you know, sort of special effect, sort of stunty kind of thing happening? So this is just an example of things that we did a bunch of times on the show just to achieve something that was like a little outside of the box, a little fantasy, a little sparkly, a little cooler. So that's it. Overcompensating was a super fun show, and it's an important storyline of coming out story. And I have nothing but good things to say about Benito Skinner, and I believe he will be a household name sooner than later. And that's it.
You have a minute left, but you're good.
I have a minute left. Oh my
Yeah, you have
God.
a minute left.
I always feel, I just like to get to the meat of it and like not dwell on things for too long. I mean, I would have loved to show more slides, but that's it really. I mean, it was a really fun show. I'm proud of it. It ended up being more fun and exciting than I thought it was going to be, even though I was really interested in working with Benito and everything that he was doing. So that's it.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Diane Magnus. Great. Hey, Diane. So Diana Magnus is nominated for the comedy series, The Z Suite, episode In with the New. Diana is an award-winning production designer based in Toronto. Trained as an architect in Paris, London, and Toronto, her understanding of design using light, scale, volume, color, and perspective are the foundation of her intersectional work as a production designer. In 2022, she was awarded the Norwegian Amanda Award for Best Production Design for her work on the feature film, The Middleman. Okay, so go for it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you to the DGC for inviting us all to present our work tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk about the art of production design and how each project is unique. For me, my process for the most part is tailored differently to every project, the creative teams involved, and the story I am being asked to build a world for. So I'll jump into it. Julian, can we have the first slide? Z Suite or Z Suite is a workplace comedy set at a boutique Manhattan ad agency where generational divides see the established Gen X executive suite collide with the rising Gen Z employees. After a company decision spirals out of control, the agency's reigning executives are pushed out and the Z Suite employees are suddenly put in charge, ultimately testing both generations' abilities, which results in very hilarious episodes. So to underpin the comedy and the storytelling, I pitched a polarization of production design worlds to the showrunner, Katie O'Brien, a highly identifiable, slightly out-of-date Gen X world, which meets a trope-specific Gen Z world, all the while creating a series of memorable and realistic New York City sets and studio. These sets had to include full ceilings with built-in lighting options for the DP who could light the scenes from an iPad, basically. So as much time as possible could be dedicated to filming anywhere between 10 to 12 pages of dialogue every day. So our biggest set here, which you see, is the ad agency clocking in at almost 2,000 square feet. I built backstories for all the fictional buildings in the show just to make sure we nailed that New York City vibe. And the fictional Manhattan building for this ad agency was an original 19th century cast iron building, originally a textile making warehouse in Soho, featuring a decorative facade with ornate elements such as round arches, columns, and detailed cornices. The first incarnation of our ad agency is the one you see here, the reigning Gen X ad agency. So designing the set was so much fun. I went with a slightly out-of-date 80s vibe as Gen X came of age pretty much during the late 80s and 90s. So we went with 80s blues and reds with 80s architectural details like wood slat walls, red doors, and a preponderance of exposed brick walls. All the while, of course, paying homage to the fictional location of our agency being Soho, the birthplace of the New York City loft. So we included large loft windows, 19th century skylights, some exposed pipes, column spacing. You don't actually see the original columns, but they're hidden in these blue columns here. And of course, a pied-à-terre garden. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Once Gen Z takes over the office, we added Gen Z colors, yellows, pinks, light blues, and creamsicle orange. We added funky Gen Z furniture in unusual shapes and colors, a large unironic sculpture of a mushroom, and we also added abstract patterns, which you can see here on the walls, and some outsider art. One of our characters, Clem, is an artist, and I thought some of his friends would also be artists, so we added a lot of Gen Z original art into Clem's office and sprinkled throughout the agency here. Next slide, please. Our hero Gen Z character called Kriska lived in an apartment that I pitched being in Bushwick. The backstory being a young woman in her 20s couldn't afford anything closer to Soho, so her apartment was on a corner, allowing windows on two sides of her tiny second floor bachelor apartment set. We printed translates for outside her main window and side windows, but the one across from her main window here is of a bodega across the street. And when you light the translight from behind, it creates almost a neon sign effect. That was quite exciting. We weren't counting on that. We built a partial New York City fire escape for outside her window to help make that Bushwick world complete. Besides the Gen Z colors and silhouettes, I really wanted to show Kriska's confident creative side while reflecting her youth and need to still find her feet professionally. So I included a lot of pieces that she would have thrifted and put together stylishly and coolly in a mismatched way. Next slide, please. Our hero Gen X character, Monica, was played by Lauren Graham. Monica lives in a luxurious Tribeca penthouse condo. Her building I imagine to be a classical modern condo building built inside of a historical Tribeca warehouse building. Monica would have added plenty of architectural details, such as the wall paneling you see here, French doors, cornices, and intersecting beams. Because the character loves to be the star in any room or any scene, her apartment's color palette is comprised of warm tans and creams with touches of blue, all to be a literal backdrop for her self-described star power.
Time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brian Verhoog. Just a minute, I just need to turn off. Okay. So Brian Verhoog is nominated for the family series, The Office Movers, episode Familia. Toronto-based, Brian studied at the Ontario College of Art and Design University, and as a film and television designer, collaborates with directors, DOPs, writers, and producers to develop each project's unique visual style from concept to final execution. Selected series credits that have succeeded in North American and international markets include The Hardy Boys, nominated for a Canadian Screen Award, Bet, and the current The Office Movers for Crave TV. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Little sore voice today. The Office Movers is created by Jay and Trey Richards, who have been YouTube stars for about 10 years. They created a series for Crave TV, which was presented to me as a limited budget 6-episode series. I was currently working with Counterfeit Pictures on a CBC production, and they were producing this show. So from my design standpoint and getting into this show on its fairly limited budget, one of the first things we did was visit Jay and Trey's dad's business, which is where the story came from. He owns an office moving company, and this is the Office Movers. Jay and Trey have been working with their dad since they were 10 and 12 years old, and drew from that experience to bring these 6 episodes to life. All the characters they met when they were younger, and as they grew up, they were working those. Can I check out the first slide? With the limited money that we had, we used a space that would have to take or house a number of different sets. And one way of doing this was incorporating what existed there. So there's a doorway here that you see that leads into an office area that actually exists. And I created a set beyond that so that we could utilize more, and we couldn't afford to build much. So you can see in the lower left-hand corner there, that's sort of the raw space, the left and the middle shot. We were able to create a number of sets within this space. Did a lot of recycling of set pieces, flats, set dressing. This space was a studio for a number of years, but had just given up the lease. We were the last show in there, so they were having a big sale of clearing everything out, and we came in at the last minute and were able to take advantage of some of that and use some of their existing pieces that we had to create something for ourselves. Can we go to the next one? This is one of those sets that we were able to create there, just in the breezeway between the two studio sets, actually. We needed a loading bay area to drive a vehicle in, and so we were able to recycle flattage, bring in some dressing, and create a scenario where we could shoot in. Also, the crew was a hybrid crew of non-union and union workers, the non-union being the camera crew, grips and electrics. So it was quite a learning experience there. They were used to shooting reality TV and not episodic. So it was quite a learning experience for them. And the next slide, please. This again was the same studio or building upstairs, which I fought against. I wanted to build this hospital room in the studio that was available down there, but time and money, and we ended up on the second floor, no elevator. Everybody had to lug up their gear. We had to bring up our set dressing, a hospital bed, all of that sort of stuff to create this, but we were happy with what we did on our end, and so was everybody else. So we were able to create this on a bit of a shoestring for what we needed. Next slide, please. Eventually, this set becomes, in season 2, which is airing in November 7th, a build, which I begged to build this, to find some money to build this house. Talking to Jay and Trey, and knowing they wanted a second season, we would have something to have on that season. But we ended up, our locations department was great, and they ended up finding us a house that was empty. And we were able to go in there because we had a number of different sets within this space. The main part was the living room, dining room, kitchen. And then we used the basement and the side of the house to create some other sets as well. And as I said, in season 2, I got a chance to build it, and which is going to look great in the upcoming second season. And I think one more slide. So along with this, the basis of the show is about office moving and needing office buildings. The best way for us to deal with all of this was find a couple of locations that we could go to, but find more sets within different looks within those buildings. And we were able to find 2 places where, because of the size of the show and the small unit that we had, we were able to dress and use different floors on some of these buildings and create more sets than needed. And we were able to achieve what we wanted. And in the end, everybody was very happy with what we were able to achieve. And through my set department and my art director, we were able to create more than what we thought we were going to. Yeah, so it's a great show, and we had a lot of fun. Jay and Trey are fantastic people, and they brought the energy to the show, the comedy to the show, and they made it a great working environment for all of us. that's it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, you still have a minute left, almost 45 seconds, but are you done? Would you like to?
Yep,
Okay,
I'm good.
thank you so much. Okay, so next up, we have Andy Berry. There you are. Hey, Andy. Andy Berry is nominated for the comedy series North of North, Top of the World episode. Toronto-based, Andy's film and television deep experience covers a broad range of genres from drama to horror to comedy. In addition to North of North, shot entirely in Iqaluit, Nunavut, selected film credits include Christopher Waltz's directorial debut Georgetown, Bruce McDonald's Hellions, and also Bruce McDonald's The Husband, Jeffrey St. Jules' The Silent Planet, and The Mother, starring Jennifer Lopez. Television credits include The Pradeeps of Pittsburgh, The Kids in the Hall, In the Dark, Girl Underground, and Anne with the Knee. So go for it, Andy.
Thanks, Marian. Thanks everyone else. We're almost at the end. Thanks for hanging in there. Julian, you can put up the first slide. It's interesting to see what people have chosen for images and how to present this. I've kind of gone a bit of a different track. This is a still from an establishing drone shot of the show. The actual location of this is Apex. It's a little hamlet just outside of Iqaluit, Nunavut, and this was our stand-in for our fictional town of Ice Cove, where the town is set. I chose this image because it has a lot of the foundational elements of the design of the show in it. Being set in the Arctic, we have this sort of vast. It comes across initially as whiteness, but as you can see in this image, there's a sort of monolithic, beautiful pearly white blue that is the landscape around everywhere, and then the way humans have sort of nestled into it with these punches of color is really fascinating. These ochres and the reds that sort of are these little shots of warmth in the cooler landscape. One of the other things that we see in this image is the building vernacular that's really common up north, which is every building's on stilts up off of the permafrost. There's a really modular sense of building because everything is shipped up at great expense. And then there's sort of whimsical flourishes like this ochre building up front with these sort of different planar intersections going on. So all of these things were kind of really interesting on my initial recce visits up north to feed the design of the show. We can go to the next slide, Julian. This is one of our main studio sets that we built. It's not the most compelling image, but I chose this again. This is a sort of still frame from a wider crane shot, but it showed a lot of the elements of the set. So I like this one for that. And in this interior, this public space, I've kind of taken that idea that we just saw in the previous slide of the sort of monolithic, cool tones punctuated by these hits of color that we see in the molded plastic chairs, the same ochres, oranges. There's the nice wooden ceiling is something that we see a lot in public buildings in the north. There's sort of this attempt to sort of architectural flourishes. This is a bit of a lower quality picture. You can't quite tell, but there's quite a few seams on the walls, which is again part of the building vernacular of the north. Things come up. They're designed and often pre-built in the south, packed, shipped, and sent up north to be put together. So you end up with this sort of a lot of visible seams, which is kind of interesting. Also really convenient for an art department that's following the same process, shipping up north. And something that we're not quite getting the sense of in this view of the set, but it's a really layered set. You can see that a little bit in the commissary window through the back. The DJ booth is peeking in here on the left. We can go to the next slide, Julian. This is the view from inside that DJ booth looking out toward the other half of this quite large community center set. And I tried to build in lots of layers. So when we're in this sort of community hub where a lot of our storytelling takes place, there's always activity going on in the other rooms that aren't our main room. So if we're in this booth with our main characters having a conversation, there's something going on outside, directly outside the sort of fishbowl of this radio booth. And then those walls, those glass walls beyond are into the other offices and other spaces. And you can see all the life going on in lots of different layers through the set. Also, like these little, so this is one little set within the larger set, and there's several of these in this community center. So this is the radio booth, this nice little warm nest. that this character is created for himself. Other characters have their own little spots within this greater set as well, which sort of thematically in my mind was like these hits of warm color that we see in the vast, cool landscape. You know, sort of similar in our community center. We have these little warm pockets within the larger set. Our next slide is, this is Nevy's Stars. This is one of our other studio builds. I chose this slide more for the texture, although we see our palette still continuing here with our oranges. We've shifted sort of slightly. This is more of a personal space, although it's a store. This is attached to our character's house, so you can see the more casual costuming in a couple of the characters. And in speaking of costume, like there's a vibrant yellow that's on our young character's hood, and the red in Grandma's camisole, you know, really worked hand in hand with the costume department on this project, more so than I think maybe any other, to really make sure that our palettes were in sync and our textures were in sync. There's something really cool, pardon the pun, about being in the North, and the sense of warmth that is in this sort of vast cold, and the textures help with that. These fur textures, these leather textures, the wood textures when we see them. Nevy's store sort of gathers a lot of that together in a nice little package. And to our last slide, it's really hard to tell a story, as a few people have said, in 5 slides. But this one, I just wanted to sort of bring us back outside. So there's quite a few sets that we had to build in front of, or sort of to build sets within the landscape. And so you kind of choose the most wonderful landscape, and there's a lot of choice. And then, so this was our dump set. We built the set so that we had this vast landscape beyond. And then again, with our nice warmer colors sort of punching it together, the red minivan, the yellow cabin that we built and brought in, all
Thank you.
sort of bringing these hits of warmth. Beauty in unexpected places. That's where I wanted to end.
Okay. Thank you, Time. So the next and final designer presenting this evening is a return of Shane Fox. Shane Fox is nominated twice this year, the second time for her work on the comedy series What We Do in the Shadows headhunting episode. And just as a reminder, Shane is Toronto-based, Emmy-nominated production designer, as well as founder of Shane Fox Hardware. With over 30 years in film and television, her work spans a major network and acclaimed series. A member of the Television Academy, she has earned multiple industry nominations and awards for outstanding production design. So, go for it.
Hi again, everybody. This is me wrapping up the whole presentation for us all, talking about my favorite show of all time. What We Do in the Shadows. You can probably go to the first slide just so there's something to look at. What We Do in the Shadows was like a dream job for me. I cut my teeth on this show in a lot of ways. I worked with some of my best friends. I got to work with incredibly talented producer, writers, directors. They trusted me. It was a gold mine of creativity. And for someone like me who's extremely crafty, I'm very hands-on. You know, I went to art school. I didn't go to film school. I went to art school. I'm a maker. I build things. And so this was the show that I really got to do what I love best and to flex my making skills and to, I don't know. I mean, I could talk about the show for a long time. I could get very emotional if I keep talking about it because I will miss it dearly. But it has forever impacted my life. Here we are. So season 6 was our final season. We found out early on, like in production, in prep, that was going to be our last season. So we kind of all approached it differently. We were heightened, we were savored every moment, and we poured our hearts into it. This is the lab set, Laszlo's lab set. It was just, when I saw it in the script, it was one line. It just said, like, we see a tiny corner basement lab set. And this is just a good lesson to me or to anyone else who's just coming up. Like, sometimes you just got to take big swings. And I pitched this massive set, multi-levels, well, massive for our show, multi-levels, and like, this is just one side of it. And the showrunner loved it, and he's like, oh my God, we're gonna write a whole bunch of stuff into this. And it just sort of changed the whole arc of the series in some ways. the finale, like the last season. So that was really cool. Just an example of how collaborative that show was, that I could like dream up this set, put it forward, everyone just embraced it and championed it, and we just dove in. So yeah, you can go to the next slide. There's like a whole storyline where Laszlo is like sort of becoming Frankenstein, wants to build a Frankenstein character. I encourage everyone to watch the show if you haven't, because 5 slides just like I'm just focused on this one episode with these slides because there was too much to tackle. Even considering we did like 3 endings for this show, so depending on where you watch the show, you would see a different ending. 2 of those endings we shot on film, which was like, have anybody tried to shoot film lately? Like, you can't get it. You can't even buy the stuff, let alone have it developed. We had to ship it to LA. It was like a whole thing. Anyway, this is another side of the lab. There's water in that tank. So there's just like, some engineering obstacles and things that we had to do to make this thing interactive and functional. This was just a fun set. My scenic team, led by Jen Wardle, who was just like a superstar. She and I were putting our heads together a lot about how to create textures and just do a bunch of cool finishes in this set. You can go to the next slide. So this is just a close-up of another area of that lab set. We built an elevator, and we chose to sort of gimbal it. So it's on these little airbags. So when you stood in it, it would shake like an old elevator would, and the light fixture would kind of sway. And I like this photo because it shows you just like the amazing scenic work that they were able to do with like the wall being exposed, and that sometimes I get like most excited about little spaces and little corners and little moments in sets, like the elevator. I just loved it, and I would just like go in there sometimes and just marvel at how much I loved it. Next slide. So contrast. So you're in this episode 602, and you're in the lab, and then cut to a scene in Canning Capital Strategies, which is kind of like a modern day cheesy office space. I really wanted it to not be nice and kind of like a little off-putting, but like they, whoever designed it thought it was nice kind of vibes. Yeah, so that's it. It was, for me, this was fun to do and have it be in contrast to our lab sets and all the other crazy stuff that we did that season. So you can go to the next slide. This set was it was big. It was a lot of gimbaled glass and a lot of floor space. I think it was like 5,000 square feet. It's just always interesting when you have our characters who are vampires and crazy, do up to crazy things, and they get into an environment like this. It just highlights their characters more. We call it like the fish out of water vibe. So it's just nice to see Nadja in her big poofy vampire dress, like walking through Canning Capital. Fun one. And then I think, is there another picture, or is that it?
That is it.
That's it. So yeah, that's my little presentation of what we do in the shadows, although there's like a ton more from that season. I just encourage you to go watch it.
You have 24 seconds left.
That's it. That's all I gotta say. So I get to wrap it up for everybody.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much. That was great. And I'd like to invite everyone to come back on, all the designers who are still here, who didn't have to leave, to come back on. Great. And, I tell you, this is like, wow, surgical. It's like we finished a minute earlier than I anticipated based on the little outline. So I don't know if there's any questions. I don't see, no one's entered any into the Q&A, but for those of you that are out there, or even designer to designer, are there any questions out there? I guess you have to type them in the chat or into the Q&A if there are any. So please I'm going to put my face on so it's not disembodied voice. Okay. So yeah, are there any questions out there for any of the designers? You can type them into the chat or the Q&A. No, it doesn't really, maybe they're just so blown away, because that was really an impressive amount of work that you guys all showed. And kudos to you for like stepping up to the challenge of doing it in a short period of time. But I have to say, real Pechacuchas, I mean, for those that don't know, are like, you have 7.5 minutes to show 20 slides, and they change automatically every 20 seconds. So I just thought it, given the Zoom format and all that, I tried to limit it to something that was felt a little more manageable. But anyway, so again, doesn't seem like there's any questions out there. Do you guys have any comments or questions to each other or anything like that to reflect on?
I actually had
Okay.
a question for Andy.
Go for it.
I was just curious, just like filming up north, what were some of the limitations or challenges that you guys had when you were, I really enjoyed your presentation, like that you had when you were up there.
This DGC web series has a channel that you can go to and see the whole presentation on working
really?
remotely.
Oh.
But I mean, it's hard to get into in any detail. But
Right.
as you can imagine, yes, the weather was one thing.
All
The remoteness was another. You know, we took over the curling rink as a studio. Not the first time I've done that in a remote location, but the challenges were myriad. And in season 2, we won't be doing our studio work up north. Lessons have been learned. We'll be doing the studio work down here in Toronto. But yes, I encourage you to watch the show and to check out the. There was a webinar like this on working remotely with myself and a few other designers that answered maybe some other questions. Yeah.
No, and I look forward to watching it. It looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, the webinar that Andy's referring to was the last one we did a few months ago. And
No,
you can
actually,
find
I'm now remembering seeing it in a newsletter or whatever, but I'll check.
Right. You can find it on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah, there. Julian's just posted it in the chat, so you can find them there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts or anything? Oh, there's something in the Q&A there. Anonymous attendee. What advice would you give to folks with limited build architectural experience? Can you still be successful? What are the first steps to learning? If you didn't get a degree in it, did you get a mentor? Exactly. So does someone want to answer that? Several of you probably could answer that. Come on. Caroline, Diana, several of you are architects already. So thank you. Step in.
I can take a shot at it. I think just really follow through on all of your curious gut feelings. So, you know, go to museums, go to art galleries, buy books. You believe it or not, you cannot find all the information you think you can find online. Go buy books. If you're in love with certain cities and their architecture, go buy a couple big coffee table books and look at them often. I start every morning by pulling down a book from my own little personal library. It's a really great, fun way to stay in touch with things not only you're interested in visually, but also a great way to learn. And of course, travel. Everybody.
I would echo that. Research is always the key, I think. I think that's what we take from almost everybody's presentation. It really comes down to the research.
And on that note, in terms of research, I think it's on Thursday. I know Rose Legase, I don't know if you're still on this, but as part of her Canadian Production Design Week events, she's offering I think it's a free trip to the Toronto Reference picture collection. So if you're in Toronto and you don't really know about that, hop on to that Canadian Production Design Week site and sign up for that, because it takes you, it used to be very common that there'd be libraries with clippings and stuff. Picture librarians would spend hours organizing, and there's fewer of them now. But the Regina, that's where I'm from. The Toronto Public Library has a great picture collection still. So if you're in Toronto, hop onto that tour and you can get some insight onto that. So there's a few other questions here. Okay, what advice? This is a fairly common one. Any of you can hop in. What advice would you give to a designer that's just starting out trying to get into the industry?
I can speak to that. I think that sometimes people, when they start out, they're in such a hurry to get to be the key creative or be to the top of the heap and be the designer on a project. I feel like you can learn so much just by doing all aspects of the art department. And I'm like, that's me. I did that. I've pretty much done every single job in the art department. I've poured breakaway glass. I've been a props person. I've been an on-set dresser. Like, I feel like those experiences, they teach you so much about how the film industry works, how people work, how budgets work, how materials work, how daylight works. So I think just get in there, just do stuff. You gotta put in your time sometimes. That's it. That's what I tell people. Just work hard and
I
do
can
good.
rebound on that totally. This is really what I suggest you to do, because when you know the material you work with, you can anticipate, and then because it's your job as a designer to anticipate. And if you don't know what you're working with, it's hard. When you are in a position with less responsibility, you can learn. You can. The stress is not overwhelming you. It's just the best way. And I did that too. Like I was like my first job was a assistant in the art department. I was a runner basically, but I learned so much from that experience, and then I work up my way into being a designer. So I encourage. It's a safe way to build like the pyramid.
Let's have a show of hands of how many here tonight have exactly had that kind of trajectory. So there you go. So there's okay, this is an interesting next question. Any advice on overcoming imposter syndrome?
That's like a human thing. I mean, who doesn't have that sometimes, right?
Is it possible?
Yeah.
I'm having it right now. My first feature film.
Does it ever end?
I would say to back up Shane and Mary Pierre on the last answer though as well, say yes to everything. So yeah, say yes to that indie feature. Say yes to be the props guy on this. Like just say yes. What else are you doing? Right? Just say yes. And then you become the guy that says yes. And then they keep calling.
So going on back to that imposter syndrome thing, I think stay a bit humble and just know that you're always learning. I think it would be a good tip on that. Okay, another question. Thank you so much for sharing. Any words of wisdom for aspiring production designers who want to work on projects of this caliber that all you've done? So I think you've kind of answered that, but if anyone wants to again jump in and just flesh out that a little bit more.
That a project gets a high caliber from really tight collaboration between the creative team, but also the whole, like every department. That's what makes a project of a certain level. So I would say it's not only us, it's everyone on the film or show that makes it like that.
True. So this is sort of a repeat of this, but just there's a bit at the end of this question that maybe is a little bit different. How did all of you get into these spaces? I think it meant professional spaces. Did you work your way up the union pipeline? Did you production design lots of non-union work? What did you find the most impactful? And again, I think that's kind of been answered here, but just maybe just jump onto the impactful word.
I liked being in art school. That was impactful in my life. Sort of set me down a path of knowing what my skills were and what I'd like to do and what I got obsessed with, That's maybe a bit of an answer.
And one more question. What do you think are the best investments for this career path? A truck,
laptop,
a car, a storage space, fitness. So when we go around the room, I'll call your name out and each of you give a little bit of an answer. Okay. Maybe just give one thing that you think is a good investment. Andy, I'm just going by my screen, what I see right now.
Well, I'm going to steal Shane's answer. Yeah, laptop. Or you know, or actually an iPad and get a good drawing program, like however you design it, so you're portable.
Hey, Brian?
Andy took my answers. No. Yeah, it's important. I think going back to what Diana said too about books, it used to be great to go to Markham Street, buy Honest Ed's to the great bookstores there and look at some of those fantastic architecture books and get those reference. I have found some now digitally, which I showed to my art department last summer and actually put it in a Dropbox so they could access. And I'm trying to remember now which one we were referencing. We were looking for different styles, and it's the one book, if somebody can help me here, where it goes through every century and tells you what the fireplace looked like, a graphic architecture book. And it's fantastic. And those I have those, and some of those were gifted to me earlier when I started. And I think those are wonderful things to do, to pass on to the ones starting out, not just and being able to get it digitally is great too.
Yeah. Dom?
I would say investing time into building a team that you can trust and learn from. I'd say.
Ludovic? Ludovic, were you able to understand the question? Sorry, I guess it's been translated, yeah? You're muted. Yeah, Peter, just go on while Ludovic figures out.
Sorry, I forgot my thing was on. I think the best investment is to stay curious, keep asking questions, try and learn, lifelong learning, and don't always follow the rules.
Thank you. Caroline?
I would say observation, but I would also say thinking outside of the box. Things are not always what you think they are. That's it.
Yeah. And Ludovic, oh, okay, you have to leave. Okay, I see. Okay, thank you so much, Ludovic. Okay, Shane, you probably you had some suggestions, but anything singular thing to?
The first thing that popped to mind was like a good camera, because back in the day, before we all had these in our pockets, you could like have some time with your camera and like frame shots and like understand what it takes to put a look together or just to capture a moment, or I don't know. I feel like that's a skill that people are not using as much anymore.
Mm-hmm. True.
And a Netflix subscription, just watch shows.
Yeah, go to movies.
Go to movies and just consume and find what you like to watch.
Diana?
I would say invest time in finding your tribe. I was really lucky coming up to have built some really great friendships and relationships with people that I just kind of naturally found myself working a lot with. And then what's amazing is you can lift each other up as you're climbing that ladder, because if they're not available, they will recommend you on a show, or you can do the same, vice versa. And so the more of your tribe you find, the more other people you're exposed to. It's a really, really important thing, and it's not something that I feel a lot of us spend time on, or I can just talk for myself. I've kind of fallen in and out of that vibe, and I wish I slowed down a little bit and found more time to kind of develop those friendships and relationships, because they're super duper important.
Thanks. Marie-Pierre?
I would say, like Caroline just told my idea, but if I would say something else, I would say to cultivate your Swiss knife personality. So not only be interested in art and architecture, but go into like the fabric and the also like the mechanic, the physics, because sometimes the answer is not only in the pure form. Sometimes you have to just think outside of the box, and because we have to be resourcefulness when we don't have a lot of money. So to be creative, and it's a tool. Having, like, we are problem solvers, so having a solution for every problem is really important. So practice yourself with that to find solutions to problem on the spot.
Thank you. So trying to wrap, like, we were already 3 minutes over what we all agreed to. There's 3 more questions, and like, are you guys cool to kind of hang in for another like 5 minutes to just finish those last 3 questions? And then the 3 questions are up. That's it. We'll have to cut it off. So along the lines of the imposter question, how do you market yourself? Do you all have agents, networking? How do you determine and ask for a fair rate for yourself without worrying that asking to be paid fairly will rule you out? Well, that's a multi-layered question. So let's just spend 30 seconds or minute just people throwing out responses to that.
If you're going to be ruled out of a project because you asked to be paid fairly, then it's probably not a project that you want to be on.
Good point.
Right? I mean, there's like we have the unions, and there's minimum rates, and people pad that or get what they can get, but in union environments, it's not as fair game, I think, as in like indie environments where they can take advantage of people. So you should be paid fairly no matter what, no matter where you are. That's a thing, right?
And I imagine most of you have agents that at this stage of one's career. Most people, I think, in this group probably have agents.
Kind of have to.
You don't have to.
Well, but it feels like you have to.
No, but it's an option a lot of people elect to have. So it's but it isn't mandatory. Next question. How did y'all navigate this career path in your 20s? How did you afford a car, your apartment, etc.? Did you just have faith that you would be rewarded down the line?
Say yes to everything.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, you have to believe in your potential, I think.
And have lots of roommates.
I
And
think
make
you
all
have
your
to
own
give
furniture.
you have to
Yeah.
give you time to build your career. Sometimes you just give yourself like 5 years, like, I'll see what I can do in 5 years. And because if you want results right away, you might be disappointed. It takes the time to build like something.
And then finally, do you think a competitive nature helps or hinders in this industry? I know this is an answer you all feel bad about maybe saying yes to, but let's be honest.
You absolutely have to be competitive. Don't you want to be the best? Like, you want to be the best, right? You want to be making the best thing you can make. So that's competitive. And then,
I think it's more about ambition than it is like direct competition. Like, I don't think about that way, but I'm definitely ambitious and want to do fun things.
Yeah, you set your own bar in a way, what you want to achieve. Anyone else want to say anything as a final answer to this?
Ultimately, we don't make that final decision on who gets the gig, right? So we put our best foot forward with our lookbooks or whatever we do, and put a lot of effort into that, and hope that we're the one, right?
Liz Bischoff said something to me once. She's not here, unfortunately, but it really stuck with me. It's like the right person will get the job, and which is a nice way of saying, good on you, you got this one, well, I'm going to get the next one. I think there's a bit of competitiveness. When I see Brian got the job I wanted, I go, oh.
At some point, it just feels right when you get it. It's like it's moving towards yourself naturally. So.
And there's a lot of serendipity, I think. You just have to throw that in there a bit.
And also award shows, like that's where I feel the most competitive stuff happening, when you're like nominated for something. It's like, oh God, I want to win that
you
award.
all are.
Yeah.
Or twice.
Yeah, it's just weird. That's like the weird thing, right? Because it just puts your work somewhere else. It's like, okay, it's not really about what I did anymore. It's about like what the life this thing is going to have. And I don't know. It's weird when we're all thrown together and we're trying to compete with each other that way, but I don't really actively think about it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're all proud of the things that we do. That's the thing, right? Like, we feel that it's, and it should be that way. And we should feel proud that of the stuff that we do.
And I
So-
think
Yeah, nobody talks about what we do all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's always like the actors and the director, and we are always in the shadow. So once we have a little recognition, it's just fun and it's really fun to meet you all because I feel like we are all kind of the same.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
not
what
often
this
that we
whole-
all get to interact like
Yeah.
this. Like you're not on
Yeah.
a show with another production designer, right? So
Yeah.
we know each other through the industry, but not through
Mhm.
like sharing an office or whatever.
So I think, and that's what these all art things are really meant to do, is amplify what you and everyone does in the art department. So, and also I think you're all nominees, and I imagine many of you have been on juries. And to be honest, to be nominated is, to me, a clearer marker of your excellence, because the voting, even though those of you out there who haven't voted yet, please vote. If you haven't watched everything, quite often it's a popularity contest. But if you've been nominated for something, there's a very concise and thorough process of assessment that is done for that. So kudos to all of you for being nominated, because really your work has been assessed by your peers, professional peers, and truly we've landed here in you've earned it. You've earned your position here. So to that, I just want to thank all of you for taking part in this tonight, because I know there was emails and had to prepare the slides and all that, and also very much also to Julian, who helped a lot in getting this organized, and Hans, also at DGC National, who helped put this together, and the DGC National overall, who really supports us doing these all art gatherings. So I'm hopeful to see most of you at the DGC Awards on November 8th in Toronto, because I know you've all been invited. So then you can meet each other in person, and you can all have a drink and cheer each other on in person. Okay. So again, thanks everyone. And remember that in the chat, I mean, Julian, if you can throw that in there, that link to the DGC National website, so people who can vote, who are DGC members and can vote, can go there and find out how they can do that, and also screen the projects they need to watch. And also in maybe the end of the week or next week, the recording of tonight's event will be in the DGC YouTube channel, and Julian will put that in the chat as well. So I think that's everything for now. And again, thanks so much everyone for taking part in tonight. Really appreciate it.
Marian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.